Okay, so Gears of War Judgement just came out, and I've played all the way through it, and I must say, it's a very good game. Possibly even the best Gears of War yet. And I say that because People Can Fly, the development team behind this one, they've made some really good improvements to the controls and the gameplay. Although we'll say it's probably the weakest in terms of story, partly because, well, it's a prequel that's set before any other game or even the Realm Shadow DLC as far as I know, in the very early days of the war. So you know the fates of certain characters, but also it's a case of a prequel feeling like it's kind of unnecessary in its plot. Like, you could probably just skip over this plot-wise and not really miss anything in the overall story arc. The game revolves around Bird and Cole, the comic reliefs of the previous installments, and I'm not sure why, but I really didn't like Bird before now. It's odd because he's a really smarmy bastard, and that's normally the type of character I like. But I really warmed up to him a bit more with this game, and then you got Cole, who is surprisingly quiet in this game. I think of all the four main characters, he speaks the least. Also, he's very slim for some reason, which is odd when you look at the flashbacks from Gears of War 3, from when he was a thrashball player, and he was much bigger, more like he is in the other games. The other two main characters are alright, nothing to really write home about. One's just the female, and isn't all that likeable. The other one is just Russian, basically. It adds a bit more to the backstory of what was going on before the Locust War, kind of like the stuff with the insurgents in Halo before the Covenant came along. On top of the Judgement campaign, the game also features an additional mini-campaign called Aftermath. It basically continues up and falls on some of the characters from Judgement, and also explains what Bird and Cole were up to at a certain point in Gears of War 3 while the focus was on Marcus. It really feels like... It reminds me of Realm Shadow in a lot of ways, you know, being a short mini-campaign. And honestly, it really does feel like the kind of thing that would be DLC. I do wonder if it was intended to be DLC, and they just decided to include it in the game anyway. And if that is the case, kudos to People Can Fly, because it's not that important overall, and it's probably less interesting than Judgement. But, you know, it's nice to have more campaign content instead of just one that lasts 4 hours like Halo. One of the issues with this being a prequel, though, is, like with Halo, like when you play Reach, there's a bunch of weapons that are around, weapons and enemy types. They're around, but then they're just not around for the early installments. Like, this game has some new weapons, it's like 2 new sniper rifles. None of them appear in the other Gears of War games. And there's even some new enemy types, and it includes ones that were only introduced in 2 or 3, even though that means they disappear for Gears 1, and then some re-emerge, and there's even enemies in this that are only in this game, and they still show up in the Gears Aftermath part based on Gears 3, but they're not in the main Gears 3 campaign, so it does raise a question of what happened to these enemy types. The game has 3 main improvements that I'll go over now. One is the star system. Basically, you get ranked in the campaign. It means that it feels less like one ongoing stage, because it's split into smaller sections, kind of like when you play in arcade mode in Gears 3. And you have, like, each section will have 3 stars to obtain, and the type of stars you get are different based on each difficulty, so it tries to get you to play through the game, get all 3 stars on every section and all 4 difficulties. And there's achievements if you can get them all on the higher difficulties. Helping you along with this is the optional mutators, kind of. In each section, right near the start, you'll find the Gears logo painted on the wall. Interacting with it will add some kind of additional challenge, like tougher enemies, or you can only use certain weapons, like maybe all you have is a pistol and a shield, or you only have Nasher and Sawn-Off. Stuff like that. It has a little challenge, and the characters do try and justify it while they're narrating the story by saying, we ran out of ammo in our normal guns, so we managed to scavenge some shotguns or whatever. You know, it's fine, but it does mean that you might have just picked up a really good weapon in one section, and the next section it's like you're supposed to just use shotguns, so then you lose those good weapons for the shotguns, which you might not really like all that much. And also when you go into the next section, you still have those shotguns. You're still forced to use those weapons when you start the next section. So you won't get any good weapons again until you kill enemies to obtain them or find them on the floor. What doing the optional objective does is it makes it so that your star points will go up quicker, so you're more likely to get 3 stars. You know, it has a little optional challenge if you want to do it. You obviously don't have to. You can just stick with the weapons you've got. But I'm glad they added stuff like this, because it just means that, honestly, it's a bit more fun to have this kind of thing. But it does probably break the immersion a little. The fact you have these like side objectives and the characters just suddenly switch out to shotguns. But I'd say it's a genuine improvement, and I hope to see this kind of thing continue in Gears of War. And the final big improvement is the control tweaking. Don't worry, they've not changed the controls radically like Halo did. No, what they've done is they've made some genuine improvements that make the game a little more fast-paced and more convenient. The most notable is the way weapons selection works. Instead of using the D-pad to switch between the 4 weapons, you now just press Y to switch between your 2 main weapons. And I'm sure early on you could hold Y to go to your sidearm, but later in the game that ability seemed to be gone as sidearms seemed to become a normal weapon. I don't really know what went on there. And as a result, Y is no longer to look at things when the game prompts you to. For that, you hold up on the D-pad. Which is fine, because it means that Y wasn't really used for anything before this. And the other change they really made is the grenades. Instead of selecting it as a weapon, like you would in the other ones, now you just throw it by pressing LB. And I really like grenades like that. I don't like it when they're a selectable weapon. I prefer just press a button to throw it. And don't worry, you can still hold it to aim it. And you can still tag things, but it's a little hard. Instead of just going up to someone and pressing B to tag them, now you have to be swinging the grenade, like aiming it, and then you can tag them. It's a little harder. It takes quite a while to get used to. But it is an overall real improvement, I'd say. And because LB is grenades now, you press down to view where your squad mates are and stuff like that. I don't think left and right do anything though. But yeah, just some slight control tweaks that I think do make the game better. There's some decent new weapons, like one of these sniper rifles is pretty beast. New enemy types to keep you on your toes. The weakest part is probably the story, honestly, because it's all right, but it's not that good. Still, a good first outing of Gears of War for People Can Fly, and I do think the series is in good hands with these people. But there is one flaw that I found with the game, other than the fairly weak story. That flaw is that when my brother and I tried playing Survival, what happened was, for some reason, it said the host can't be playing split screen. I don't know what the deal with this is, but I'm pretty sure you could do that in Gears 3. And it says host can't do it. I don't know why it's just the host. So does that mean anyone else can do split screen, but the person hosting the game can't? I mean, that's pretty stupid. I mean, I don't know why they would feel the need to do that. And, well, it really sucks, because it means that you basically need 2 copies of the game in order to play it with someone in the same house. And I've always hated that. And it also applies, in a way, that whole thing, to the co-op, because still, you cannot do 4-player split screen. I don't know why this is such an issue. I mean, GoldenEye on the N64 had 4-player split screen. What is it with this generation that we can't have that? But, you know, that's a topic for another day. And it's just something that really gets me. But overall, it's a very enjoyable game. If you don't like Gears of War, this isn't exactly going to turn you on. If you're really more into the story, there's not a whole lot here. But gameplay-wise, it's still a very enjoyable campaign. I can't really speak for the multiplayer because I don't play it, though I do think that new mode, that basically is like a versus mode that combines horde mode and beast mode, that does look pretty beast. No pun intended. So yeah, I can definitely recommend it if you're into third-person shooters, and especially if you're into Gears of War. And hopefully, I really do hope we'll get some more story DLC like we had with Gears 3, because I think there is quite a bit of potential here. So that's it for Gears of War Judgment. You know, please let me know what you think of my reviews as they are. In a way I could improve it, or how what quality the audio is, because I'm still trying to get this sorted out. And yeah, please comment. I don't get many comments, and I really do need the feedback. So yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, because it really helps me out. Yeah.